Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Hello, and this is Caution Tinfoil Hat Area. My name is Kevin. This is call ID number 89564. I'm also known as Karma Tinfoil on Facebook, but my special guest has limited time, so I'm going to skip my announcements. Mila Starfire, also known as VeganBombshell on Twitter, as well as the same as username on Facebook. I'm sorry, on YouTube. Please, everyone, give a warm welcome to Mila. How are you?
I'm good, and it's Mila Starfire, and yeah, I have many different links. One of them is myspace.com/hotandsmart, and then on Facebook it's /VeganBombshell, and there's also Tumblr, veganbombshell.tumblr.com, and then, like you said, YouTube /VeganBombshell. So those are my main links, and then Twitter is @VeganBombshell, like you said. So that's my link shout out.
That's great. What are some of the latest projects you've been working on, if you don't mind, to just give people a feel as to where you're at right now?
Well, the latest project I've been working on would probably be ASA, which is the Artists for Activism, a group that I'm starting up on Facebook that's just going to be starting there, but I'm planning on going pretty big with it. It's basically a collaborative project between everybody that's involved. I am the admin, obviously, but I want it to be a place where everyone kind of feels equal to be able to share and express their, thoughts, opinions, and beliefs on kind of what's going on in the world today, politically, as far as, and I don't like to stick to labels because it tends to turn people off, but, to be straight up about it, pretty much anybody that's aware of the NWO and what's going on and the agenda that's going on, and a lot of the stuff that no one really wants to talk about and tends to lean towards, those are just conspiracy theories, when it's to the point now in time where things that once were looked at as conspiracy theories are pretty much obvious now and documented, and certain people, have come out with information. And so I wanted a place to share where I'm well aware that Facebook is heavily watched, so I'm not in denial about that. But, like I said before, if this is, our tail end of free speech, well, I'm going to use it, and to the best of my ability. So basically, I just wanted to give a place where people could come and talk about what's important to them and their issues, and with what's going on in the world and the global crisis that we are in. We tend to be very lucky in our own lives despite our own struggles, and I wanted it to be a place where people could come and really bring awareness to each other about what's going on in the world globally, and even with their own issues and their own things that are going on, and how that all kind of ties into the bigger picture. Because we tend to just look at our experiences kind of in a small, boxed-in way. I mean, that's just part of human nature. We're all guilty of it at some point. So it kind of is a place where people can come and take, maybe what they're experiencing and apply it to something a little bit more worldly and global. And so far it seems to be doing great. I mean, people are loving it, and people are speaking out, even people that, I thought maybe wouldn't really say anything are coming out and saying stuff. And just basically, to sum it up, a place where people can maybe have different opinions and different beliefs, but it's not a place where I want to create debating and arguing and back and forth. It's a place where I want people to be able to have those different opinions and yet come together still as one and realize that, we can all come together, have different opinions, yet still understand the foundation of what's going on in the world right now. And my main focus is to create a place where these people are also artists in some way, shape, or form, whether it be through music or acting or, art on paper or poetry or whatever it may be. For me, I'm a performance artist. I do dancing a lot of, that's kind of like my field of expertise. So, it's a place where people can promote what they do and what they love, and also tie that into what their beliefs are. And I think that's really important at this point in time, because people tend to separate the two, and people are also kind of in fear that if they express themselves and what they believe in, that they'll be looked at different. So a lot of people, don't really want to express themselves, and that's fine. Much due respect to people that aren't really into that. But for people that are, I really wanted to offer a place where they can come and be like, hey, check out my new, et cetera, whether, no matter what art form it is, and also here's how I feel about it, here's what my beliefs are, and here's what my intentions are. And to me, that's what a true artist is, because anybody can get up and kind of say, oh, I'm an artist and I do this amazing stuff, and, for me, like I do modeling, and it's like I could just do modeling and be like, oh, look at all my pictures. But for me, I tell a story. And so, in every photo shoot that I do, that's kind of what is, lies behind it. And so I kind of want to remind people that that's what's really, in my opinion, most important to representing your skills and your art is what stands behind it and what your intentions are and what your beliefs are. So that's kind of what my latest project is as far as bringing people together in a place where they can express themselves. As far as my own projects are concerned, I have a lot of things going on, a lot of performances coming up, music videos, all kinds of different things, that I could touch on that would take, a couple hours probably. But just, I continue pushing my art every day and what I love to do. And, now that I have AFA up and running, it's something that I check in with every day and just, kind of moderate and make sure everyone's just kind of, abiding by, and for lack of a better word, rules, just meaning that everyone's kind of respecting each other's opinion and not, people they can be reactive when it comes to certain beliefs and stuff, and that's exactly the opposite of what I want to create with AFA. So that's how it all ties in, and, I want to make sure that people have a chance to express themselves in both of those areas. And that's not something that I've really seen anybody really concentrate on too much. I mean, there are people in the industry that are doing that, but even them, it's not something that's widely talked about. So what I really want to do, being a part of this industry and this entertainment industry, especially in the middle of Hollywood, is start making it more okay and accepted to be able to speak your mind and not have to worry about the judgment of others, because you know that you can do it in a way where it, people might not agree with you, but they'll at least be willing to listen, because I believe even if we don't all agree, we still have something to learn from one another. And that's kind of my intention on what I want to do with AFA. So
that's really great. It's hard to have those sorts of different people from different walks of life sometimes making those connections, and sometimes even with the groups that I had started in order to be able to allow everyone to explore their own truth. I specifically allowed it to be open enough that people can come in and have to say what they have to say, but like people that wanted to talk about chemtrails would get mad at the people that wanted to talk about UFOs, and I'm like, they are both kind of something that's not on the norm, and yeah. I think both of you should respect each other's opinions. I mean, it's kind of funny that like people in such a who are in two different types of conspiracies are then scoffing at each other in the exact way that they are both scoffed at anyway by the rest of society that's not aware.
Exactly, and that also ties into art too, because when you're an artist, it's like you're doing what you love, and so many people come from a place of ego, which we all have our path. Walking down our path of being artists, and to each his own, so with no judgment. But there are people that come from a place of ego when it comes to art, and, they feel the need to judge others, and that kind of ties into what you're saying, because, a true artist, in my opinion, is not somebody that is there to watch other people's art or observe what they do, from a place of judgment, or from a place of like, oh, that's horrible, or that's, whatever. It's good to have an opinion, but the judgment doesn't need to be there, because what art is about is acceptance. And, even if somebody shows you a poem and it's like, maybe in your mind the worst thing you've ever read, well, that's still something that's relevant to their life, and it's an experience that they've had. So who is anybody to judge them on, whether or not they rhymed the right way, or, what I mean? It's like, it's a matter of acceptance, and that, to me, those things both kind of mirror each other. And then, touching on like the chemtrails and the UFO stuff, it's like people shouldn't be afraid to express their beliefs, just because they're in an artistic field, because, we're at a time and a place now in society where everyone's got their beliefs. Everyone's got, whether it's the religious beliefs or UFOs or all of the above. That shouldn't, turn somebody off to what you have to talk in other areas. And, my own personal experience, I've been a chemtrail activist now for 3 years. And, 3 years ago is when they started the major spraying in Hollywood, and I know it's been going on for a long time, but that's pretty much when it started here getting really bad. And, you know, when I started touching on it at first, a lot of people, you know, it was basically on MySpace. I hadn't joined Facebook yet. And, you know, a lot of people made fun of me and thought I was crazy, and I got hated on a lot for it. And, you know, I put myself out there, and, you know, I'll be the first to admit that. And then, you know, within the last 3 years, the same people that called me crazy literally, you know, call me when it gets really bad. And then, what do we do? What do we do? So, you know, it's just a matter of realizing, like, you know, you might be careful when you're judging somebody, and when you're picking on somebody for something that maybe strikes you as something that's unknown, because we tend to fear what's unknown, because you might need that person in the future to help you, you know. And so now that it's not so much a conspiracy anymore when it comes to chemtrails, because it's pretty, you know, obvious that there's weird stuff in the sky, no matter, you know, what you want to attach to it, what opinion you want to attach to it. It's real, you know. And I've been documenting it both with pictures and film for the last 3 years of my life. And nobody is going to tell me that that's not there. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I put myself out on the line for people to judge me and say that I'm a conspiracy theorist or whatnot. And, you know, there's a fine line between being a conspiracy theorist and actually, like, backing it up with proof and documentation. And, you know, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I do know things, and I've been researching long enough now to know, you know, all of the different opinions of you know, why it's going on, and, you know, why we're being sprayed and all that. And that's irrelevant right now to the point that I'm making, but the point that I'm making is that, you know, if you really want to be an artist and you really want to stand for something, then, you know, you put yourself out there with your art, right? So why not put yourself out there with your beliefs? And I'm not saying you need to go out there and get crazy and you know, be overbearing and tell everybody, like, you need to think this or you need to think that. But, you know, speak out on what you believe in, you know what I mean? And that's really all you need to do. What people's opinions are, and, you know, we're all going to have our haters, you know, and that's just a given when you're an artist. It comes with the territory, you know. But if you really want to make a difference with what you do, with whatever art it is that, you know, resonates with you on a vibrational level, you need to also do that, you know. And when I say spiritual, that's all-encompassing of all beliefs. That's not just, you know, geared towards one particular belief. It's, you know, it's walking a spiritual path, meaning just a path to awareness. So if you have that inside of you, you know, why not share? That's part of your art. That's what, you know, when someone goes to make a painting, you know, you can't tell me that's not coming from a place, a spiritual place inside of them where they're feeling the need to create. You know what I mean? So why not express what made you do that? And some of the greatest artists in history that have gone down have been people that have not been afraid to express, you know, why they did what they did. You know, for instance, with Van Gogh, like, he was never afraid to express that he had problems with depression and, you know, suicidal tendencies and addictions and all the stuff that he went through. Because that's, you know, when you're an artist, it's an honest. To me, why not be honest? You know what I mean? It's like, why? Art is art. You know, it's something you can either hide behind, or it's something that you can use to be a realist. You know what I mean? And so those are the type of artists that I really respect, the ones that stay in that awareness that being a realist is what keeps your art really influencing people in a positive way. And of course, everybody's going to have their own different perceptions. You know, like with Lady Gaga, you know, that people, you know, love her or they hate her. People think that she's amazing and that she's exposing the New World Order, and then a lot of people think that she's a slave to it. I mean, it's all in your own perception. You know what I mean? And so when it comes down to it, like, you can't control what other people are going to perceive from what you do. You can only control what you put out there. And so once you do that, you just have to go, okay, well, I put that out there, and then be ready to accept what's going to come back at you. And, you know, a lot of the time it's going to be a lot of love and support, and a lot of the time you're going to have haters. And I have plenty of haters that, you know, think I'm crazy for a lot of things that I do when it comes to my beliefs and what I stand for. But at the same token, we only have this life once, and as an artist, I'm not just going to, you know, I do modeling, you know, I do dancing, all these things that I do. I love doing them, but I always have an intention behind them. And to me, if I didn't have that, then to me there's no point. You know, I'm not just going to pose for a picture and just stand there and be cute. You know what I mean? Anybody can really do that. You know, for me, it's about expressing myself. And if you check out my Facebook, like, one of my latest shoots, like, is called Lilith. And to me, you know, it's based on an experience that I went through, and, you know, she's a character that was left out of the Bible, and it's very debatable, you know. But even so, it's not that I'm saying that I necessarily believe that exact story, but, you know, you don't have to adhere to a belief to use it as something to represent, you know, a piece of art. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it can be something that that you're using also to just express how you feel. And if you relate to, something on a spiritual level, you should be able to freely express that without people being like, oh, okay, well, now we know exactly what she believes. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't know me. You know what I am putting out there, in my artistry, and it's up to you to perceive that. But like I said, that's something that we're not in control of. So as an artist, you have to understand, or I believe anyway, that, people are going to perceive you no matter what you do. So you might as well stick to your guns and really just put out there what you believe in, and if that's something that, some people don't want to do that. Some people just want to do their art, and maybe they don't want people to know what they believe in, and that's fine. But, I'm on the other side where, I really fully, support artists that get out there and put themselves out there to say, hey, here's a great organization that I want to make people aware of, or, here's an activist group that I want people to know about. And those are the artists that I respect, because those are the ones that are saying, hey, you know what? You may judge me. You may think I'm crazy. I don't care. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And you definitely aren't thinking I'm crazy when you're watching my videos all night long. You know what I mean? So it's like, people can say what they want. The fact of the matter is they're still watching. They're still paying attention. And whether or not they agree or not, that's not my intention. My intention is to put the information out there, and then whatever they choose to do with that from that point on, that's entirely up to them. But it's not going to stop me from expressing myself and what I believe in, and that's something that's super important to me, and that's exactly what I do. What I want to do with Artists for Activism is give people that opportunity to really just start being like, hey, this is what I believe in, and I'm not afraid to let people know. Because, we're coming at a time now where things are shifting and consciousness is raising, and people aren't as afraid as they used to be, and there's so many activists now that, it's just like, why not use your voice? But why aren't, it's like there's so many celebrities out there right now that are in the knowing, that know what's going on. And yeah, there are some out there that are activists that are doing their share, but it's like you don't really hear too much about it. And that's the shift in the industry that I want to be. I want these people to start speaking out more about what they're doing, because, in all actuality, the industry really, and I'm going to be putting myself here on the line, almost has more power over the people than the government does, as far as, corporate media is concerned, because, people get home and what do? They don't go online and research what's going on in the government and in the world. I mean, some people do, but majority of people get home and they turn on their TVs. You know what I mean? And what they see on TV and what they see advertised and stuff, that's kind of what gets into their mind, and that's kind of what starts putting them on their drive towards whatever it is they're thinking and their beliefs. And it gets into their subconscious mind. And, for me, I always say turn off your TV, and people say, well, how can you say that when you're in the entertainment industry? Well, first of all, TV is not something I really want to get involved with, and second of all, I consider myself an independent artist. So, and fame is not something that's important to me, per se, as much as it is getting my voice out there. And of course, having a following is great, because you have people to listen to you and, and hear what you have to say, and you can share your opinions, but my ultimate goal is, with my following, is to really help them and inspire them to do what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to being like, oh, listen to me and my opinions and my beliefs, and make it all about me. I want to help make it about everybody. And
that's exactly what I've been going through recently too. Actually, on Facebook, everyone that I've been speaking to, I've been like, go out there and talk to other people and help. Don't just act as a leader yourself, but teach other people to act as leaders themselves. And to the point that that they are good enough to do it, to then teach others. And this sooner or later will create a ripple effect, hopefully, of a level of everyone being on the same page. Do you know what I'm saying? To some extent, like a complete raising of awareness to the point that
where there's a resonance there, where there's a resonance there, and you don't have to agree per se, but you still have the ability to communicate and hear and accept and listen,
Exactly.
And that's and on a bigger, on a global scale, on a bigger picture, it's not just about that. It's about taking that type of attitude and outlook and applying it into your world. So that's really what I want people to do is take, you know, what they feel they can, how they feel they can express themselves, like say for instance an artist for activism, and then take it with them into their own world and not be so scared to express themselves, because you know, everyone's so scared of getting called crazy. It's like if you go and you talk to somebody out in the street and you're like, yeah, you know, I definitely believe in UFOs and I think this or I think that, you know, people, you know, some people will be receptive and some people will look at you like you're insane. And, you know, it's just like, it's to the point now where it's like, you know, obviously there's stuff going on in the world. We all have our own opinions. You know, I definitely have plenty of my own. And I'm not afraid to share them. You know what I mean? I'm not. And, you know, I want to help people not be so in fear, because what I fear, you know, not what I fear, what I feel is going on right now, you know, kind of when it comes to artistry, is that people are in fear of expressing themselves on that end because, like I said, they don't want to be judged, or they don't, you know, they don't want to be looked at like they're crazy. But at the same token, it's like we're artists, you know what I mean? Like we're going to be looked at that way anyway. We're judged anyway on a daily basis for what we do. People either love, you know, what I do, or I get comments, you know, where they say, you know, are you on drugs, which I'm not, you know, because I posted up you know, I do on YouTube, I'll have like belly dancing, little mini belly dancing lessons, and I'm, you know, I'm totally sober, totally doing it from a clear mind, wanting to help inspire people, and majority of the time I get positive feedback, and then I'll get my random comments of like, you shouldn't do acid before you do anything on YouTube, and I'm like, what? Like, it's so obvious that I'm not on acid, you know what I mean? But it's like people just, they feel they need to judge anyway, so what are we so worried about? You know what I mean? It's like they're gonna do it anyway. You might as well have them do it on something that really matters to you, you know? So that's kind of where I come from, and to touch on the whole fame thing, because that's something that I feel is really important to bring attention to. You know, another thing I want to do with AFA is to help remind people that, you know, as artists, you know, fame is always questionable. It's always there. Some people really, really want it. Some people don't care. Some people are open to it. Me, you know, I'm on all sides of the court with it, because, you know, for me as an activist, of course, I want as many, you know, eyes and ears as I can, you know, to help, you know, not only to inspire but also to be inspired, because, you know, these people inspire me just as much as I inspire them, you know, but something that people really need to look at is like, you know, what is the price of fame? And you see so many artists nowadays that are trying so hard to get as popular as they can and get as many followers as they can, and you know, and then if you were to sit down and I actually have done this and ask them, you know, why is it you're doing what you're doing? They literally don't have an answer. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that type of artist. And, you know, I'm the type of artist that if somebody comes to me and they say, you know, why do you do what you do? Like, you know, I literally can sit there for 2 hours and go on and on about it till the world are like, okay, I get the point. You can stop talking now. You know what I mean? So it's not a hard thing for me to express, you know, but the thing for me is I've never really, I've had opportunities to, you know, rise to the top really quickly. I live in the middle of Hollywood, where it's not that hard if you're willing to sell yourself out in a lot of ways, and I've never been willing to do that. And I'm not saying that there's not other ways to rise to the top. However, you know, I'm not going to BS anyone and say that it's a lot easier if you're just willing to give up a lot of your morals and say screw it and just kind of, you know, do whatever you need to do to hurry up and get there. That's not my goal. You know what I mean? If I never become famous and I just create a place for activism and in a community where everyone is equal, and it's not something where everyone's following me or my opinions and my beliefs, but everyone feels like they have an equal opportunity, that's what I want to create, you know, and helping people become aware of like, okay, if you want to be famous, if this is what you're reaching for, why do you want to do that? Because I see so many people now that I met, you know, prior to, you know, them getting more and more notoriety, and then it's almost like at first they have all these reasons, and now, oh, I'm vegan, and you know, or vegetarian, and once I get, you know, more famous, that's what I'm gonna, you know, really use to you know, inspire people. And then it happens, and they don't do it. And why don't they do it? Because a lot of times, and I'm going to be straight up honest here, and I've had it happen to myself, their management team, you know, and their PRs don't want them to go there, because they feel like, well, you know, if you start telling everyone that you're vegan, you know, people might judge you and this and that. And so, you know, a lot of actors out there, and I actually know some of them are vegan and are activists, but they never talk about it because it's a hush-hush kind of thing in the industry in a lot of areas. And that's why, you know, people like with, you know, Jim Carrey, for instance, I have a lot of respect for him, because he really gets out there and says what he feels, and he's involved in organizations, and he does things that really, you know, I've witnessed personally on Twitter, him getting some pretty nasty comments sent his way because he's not Mr. Funny Guy, amazing actor guy. Now he's also an activist. And because of that, people are like, well, wait a minute. We just wanted you to be this funny guy that we get to laugh at and think is amazing, and now you're becoming this real person. How dare you? And that's ridiculous because we're all real people, and people tend to forget that. They get so stuck on the characters and the roles and the TV and the movies and the films and whatever it is that they forget that there's a real person behind there that's going through, their own real life issues and problems and happinesses and losses and whatnot. And I don't feel that's something that should be hidden. Of course, we all have our levels of privacy, but if it's something that people feel comfortable talking about and they feel that it can inspire people, then you know what? To be perfectly blunt about it, I would, stick up my middle finger to my PRs and my managers and be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm sorry, this is something that's important to me. You know what I mean? And as it is, I also go by VeganBombshell. To be perfectly honest, I still go by both, but one of the reasons that, I've also created another stage name is because I was losing out on work by the name VeganBombshell because vegan was involved. And I'm going to be straight up and honest with you that, I had to make that compromise, which I did, but I still go by both. I will never drop it because VeganBombshell is my production company, and it's kind of where a lot of things that I do stem out of. But I was losing out on work because a lot of times as soon as people hear vegan, they think, oh, well, if you're going to judge other people that aren't, or, you're probably going to be, stuck up, or they just make all these, preconceived notions about what they think a vegan is or what prior experiences they've had. And then before you know it, I become that target for what they've gone through that might have been somewhat of a negative experience. And it's unfortunate.
It's like a straw man type of argument. It's like they wind up attacking you for what PETA is just because you happen to be a vegan.
Exactly.
and like PETA's got its issues, of course, on both positive and negative. So I'm not out to say anything against it. I'm just saying that in general, that's something that can be said. That's that people can very easily focus on that, and it's just a straw man. You just burn them.
It's very true. It's very true. And like you said with PETA, with no hatred or no judgment. But I'll tell you one thing: you'll never see me half naked with a carrot in my hand saying "Go veg." You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And I'm not saying I don't take edgy pictures. I mean, a lot of the modeling I do, it's definitely cutting edge and stuff like that. But it has a story behind it. But when it comes to my beliefs, like I said, I'm not going to be there naked, topless, saying eat carrots or whatever it is. That's just not my style. That's not how I want to go about it. And there was no judgment to any organization that goes about however they want to do it. More power to them.
Exactly.
Hey, if that works for you, and that's getting the word out for you, and that's cool, fine, whatever. I'm not here to judge other artists. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm about. You know what I mean? But then again, I also know my boundaries, and I know what I support and what I don't, and I don't really need to go into that per se, as much as just saying that it's about knowing what you stand for. You know what I mean? And as in general, it's good to know that, but especially when you're an artist, because if you're just an artist and you're doing your thing, but you don't have an intention behind it, then what are you really trying to do? That's just coming from a place of ego. That's coming from a place of, look at me, look at how talented and amazing I am, or I think I am, or whatever. And what's behind that, And so for me, it's very important. Every show that I do, every picture that I take, every vlog that I do, every blog that I write, everything that I do has a strong intention behind it. And if it doesn't, then I'm not going to do it. Do you understand? It's very important. And so I realize not everyone's going to have that same outlook, and I don't expect that from people. But what I do encourage is for people to be a little bit more gutsy when it comes to speaking on issues that are important to them, because, there are certain people that have posted things, without naming any names, that, haven't really gone as far as I've seen them go, in the AFA group that I started. And I'm really just honored and so proud to see these people speaking out, because, you do put yourself out there to get judged. I mean, you really, really do. And, you start talking about, UFOs, or you start talking about, chemtrails, or different, agendas that are going on in the world. And you really do take that chance of people saying, oh, gosh, you're just another conspiracy theorist and hating on you. But guess what? Life, that's going to happen anyway. So why not do something that's going to be at least, serving the benefit of the universe in some way, shape, or form, and you're going to get hated on no matter what you do if you're an artist.
Yeah, if we're going to be damned, we might as well be damned for who we really are.
Exactly, exactly. And why hide behind an image? You know, it's one thing to create an image for your artistry, of course. That's what it's all about. You know, I'm not gonna go on stage and do a dance performance and give a huge speech on chemtrails right before I do that. That's like, you know, I definitely have my fine lines, you know. But, you know, and who's to say I might not do that one day? But where I'm at right now, you know, I know how to keep them separate enough so that like I can do both and still maintain a balance of my own and also a sanity, because, you know, it's very intense when you come into realizing like what you stand for. It can be very overwhelming. You know, it's a great thing, and you start to feel this form of expression where you're like, wow, I can finally express myself on what I believe in, and you know, people are going to accept and not judge. But it can also be very overwhelming because you start to realize like, wow, I stand for a lot more than I even thought I did. You know what I mean? And you start to realize, and then from there you start to learn other things, and you get kind of like thrown onto this journey, and it's very easy to get swayed off your path of art. So that's another reason why I think a lot of people have, you know, kind of, you know, are a little bit apprehensive when it comes to exploring both territories, because, you know, you don't want to get swayed too much away from your art and what you love to do. You want to find a healthy balance. But in order to do that, you have to know thyself, you know, and that's really what I want to encourage people to do, is to just know thyself and what do you stand for? What do you believe in? You know, and maybe you don't want to say it in a paragraph. Maybe you don't want to post it, you know, online. Fine. Then put it into your art. Have a powerful message come through, you know, in your art, you know, whatever it may be, whether it's music, on paper. I mean, I know a lot of people that, you know, are into the hip-hop industry that you know, are in the underground indie hip-hop, you know, that are freestyle rappers and that are rappers, you know, that rap about like really, really intense political stuff that's, you know, that's pretty cutting-edge stuff that, you know, they're really putting themselves out there. But that's what's important to them, you know what I mean? And more power to them, man, because that's some hardcore stuff right there. I mean, you know, when it comes to dancing and you know, and like say a lot of the stuff that I do, you know, it's not quite so obvious if I'm doing a fire dance performance like what all my beliefs are. You know what I mean? Because people are like, wow, the fire. They're not thinking like, oh, what does she stand for? You know what I mean? But, you know, when you're rapping it and when you're spitting out some truth, like, that's pretty hardcore, because you're letting people know right off the bat what your beliefs are. So I have a lot of respect for people to do that, and that's the type of stuff that I really want to encourage, is for people to just really start speaking out more on what they believe in. And, you know, fine, if you don't necessarily want to say your own opinions, then if you know some organizations that you want to represent, then, hey, you know, post some links up. You know, do something more. Do something bigger. Like, we're at a time now where, you know, we're obviously, and have been for a while, but at this point it's a global crisis that ties into a lot of different subjects that, you know, I could bring up that would, you know, be pretty controversial at this point. But, you know, a lot of different subjects that have to do with a lot of different reasons of why certain things are going on in the world. And we all have our own opinions, and that's fine. But what's important to remember is, you know, it's not so much what other people are going to think, it's what you think, and what are you doing to put that out there? And are you doing it? Are you doing anything? Like, you know, what exactly is it you're doing? Like, not only question everything around you, but question yourself. You know, every time you do an art, like, question yourself, like, why did I do that? What does that mean to me? You know what I mean? Because like I said, some of, you know, the best artists that have gone down in history are the ones that have not been afraid to say things. You know, like, yeah, like I struggle with this, or I struggle with that, or this addiction or that addiction, you know, and not to say that I'm not saying that's okay, and I'm not glorifying that in any way whatsoever. I'm not saying, you know, you need to, you know, go that far, but I'm just saying, you know, honesty, you know, will forever be the best policy. And when it comes to being an artist, I really believe that honesty is something that should be more focused on than just, you know, the hush-hush thing that goes on a lot over here, especially being in Hollywood. I've witnessed it myself. You know, it's disturbing. It's really disturbing. I mean, I've literally been places before where I've started to talk about things and people are like, shh, can't talk about that here. And it's just like, you know, why? Well, you know what? You know, it's like I don't need everybody to agree with me. I'm not, you know, I'm not running around the place holding signs and you know, talking to invisible people and whatever, you know, and you know, no judgment to them either, you know what I mean? But it's just like, it's to a point now where I'm tired of seeing people being shut up. I'm done watching it happen. You know, there are ways to go about it, of course, you know, and definitely, you know, I don't believe in pushing your opinions and your beliefs on people, but there's a way to discuss things and let people know what your beliefs are without forcing them upon others. and that's what it's all about to me is keeping that line of communication open. So say if I have a conversation with you about chemtrails and we completely disagree on, a huge part of the subject, we don't have to end up in a screaming match over it. We don't have to end up debating and creating some kind of negative, vibration. You come to terms with each other and you go, okay, well, this is what I feel and this is what you feel, and you learn from each other what you can, and what you don't agree on, you don't agree on. And that doesn't mean you have to hate one another. That doesn't mean you have to completely turn your back on that person and go and bash them just because they have a difference of opinion, And like I said, for me, my major source of activism is chemtrails. And, like I said, it's just a lot of times people that end up hating you, man, will come down the line and you're the person they'll come to when, when the crap hits the fan, because they're like, oh, wait a minute, this person's been talking about this for 3 years now. She probably knows some stuff. And I kid you not, some of these same people that hated on me and called me this and called me that and crazy and blah, 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 have come back to me and been like, all right, what do we do? We're freaking out. You know what I mean? So it's like, in essence, it's like you might be saving people's lives down the line. You know what I mean? And if not saving their lives, you might be bringing them into an awareness that will help them to save their own lives and help their own families and make choices and decisions that will benefit them, into a higher awareness. So you never know, it's something you might say and do, in the meantime, and while you're doing it in the present, might not be received, but in a year, hey, guess what, it might be, and all those same people might be coming back to you. So it's like, don't ever, to me, my belief is don't ever do anything in the moment thinking, oh, this is going to have like an immediate reaction, and, if it doesn't, then I've failed. Because that's not what art is about. Art is about, doing what you love, having a message, having an intention, and who knows, 2 years later somebody might come back, and I've actually had this happen where people have come back to me in my life, 2 to 3 years later and said, you saved my life. Like, I'm sorry, at first I thought you were crazy, but, I went and actually did this detox plan that you told me about. I feel so much better, and my life has changed, and I'm no longer addicted to heroin. True story, and I'm not going to name any names, but I've gone through that. I've helped people get away from thinking they were schizophrenic and helping them understand that, one of my beliefs is that we all have, very strong psychic abilities, and, for each of us we have different gifts, and it's a very controversial subject because people will be like, oh, she's crazy, this or that, she's on drugs. I assure you I'm not on drugs, These are all things that have been with me since I was a little girl.
Saying all these things. So many of the things that you're talking about right now are actually things that I'm having issues with other people in other ways. Like, I'm having a lot of issues with accepting other people as they are, because I feel it's such a strong time to now get as many people as we can involved and taking the people of good intent and just being like, fine, if you feel like meditation is the only way, fine. Can you do me a favor and show up at a protest and meditate there? Bring a camera. But do something. Just do a little something. And I don't know. I feel at the same time, maybe you're right. Maybe I am. Maybe in my conversations recently, I've been going a little too strong on that, and maybe I need to find a way to balance that way of helping people understand to take their intentions to the next level.
Well, yeah, and it's very challenging. It's very challenging, too, because when you start talking to people about that, it's like automatically their defense systems go up. And for people that aren't necessarily like on, a path to, a higher awareness, and not to say that, I'm on a path to higher awareness and I'm so much better than other people. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I'm just saying when you're not necessarily on a path to learning from each and every experience, and you're kind of living in a box where, like, just each and every experience you kind of think you're the victim of, you don't want to hear that coming from somebody, because it's somebody's bringing you a truth and they're going, hey, well, maybe look at yourself and look at what you're doing and what are your intentions. A lot of people right away are going to receive that as something that's kind of like an attack. So it's like there's that fine line, when you want to come towards people and speak to them, and you really do have to gauge how you come at them, because so many people will take things, will automatically get like, offended by something you say, or their defenses will go up. And so it really is, it really is like a fine line, because you have to be very careful about how you come at people with what you say. So for me, you know, something that's really worked for me that you know, I've started recently, because there was, for a while there was a period where people were just like, you know, oh, you just want everybody to believe what you believe, and I'm just like, no, not at all. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying question everything, you know. So for me now, when you know, first of all, I'm at a point where I let people ask me. You know, if somebody really wants to know something, and somebody really wants to, you know, raise their awareness on a certain topic, whether or not they agree or not, you know, you could still want to raise your awareness. You know, they'll come to you if they know what you're about, and they know that you kind of entail these aspects of your personality and your belief systems. They'll come to you and they'll ask you questions. So for me, you know, the main thing that I do now is I let people come to me more so. And then, you know, if they don't, and I say I get them into a conversation where I hear people talking about something and I want to throw in my 2 cents, you know, I come at it, you know, very gently. And I come at it more so with like, well, what do you think about this? As opposed to like, well, this is what I think. You know, because as soon as you start telling people like, this is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I believe, then it's like, automatically, you know, their defenses are going to go up and be like, oh, well, this is what I think. But if you come at them from a place of like, okay, well, you know, here's kind of like what I think, you know, and I'm not maybe too sure about it, and I'd like to know what your opinion is, you know, and it's not, and that really is true, because I mean, really, we're not 100% sure about anything we believe. You know what I mean? It's like that's why it's called a belief. You know, it's like we can sit here and tell ourselves from, you know, morning till night, like, this is 100% true. I know it. But really, we don't know it for sure. You know, we know all the theories. We know what we feel in our hearts and our spirits. We know what feels resonant to our consciousness. But fact of the matter is, we're not 100% sure about anything, and that's what this life is about. And that's also what being an artist is about, because when I walk up onto a stage and I'm about ready to do a dance performance, I could be really amazing, or I could go up there and completely flop. You know what I mean? You never know. So it's kind of the same thing with life. It's like you have to, you know, be ready for both. And if you have that awareness, then you're never going to get let down, because you're going to realize that, you know, either way, you're still getting your point across. And whatever's meant to be, if I get up on stage and I flop, I'm not going to walk off stage and, you know, crying, thinking I'm horrible and I'm a mess and, oh, my God, I did so awful. I'm going to go, well, you know, today wasn't one of my better days. Hopefully somebody got something out of it. You know, there was a couple moves in there I did right, and there you go, because I'm not coming from a place of ego. And, you know, that brings me to another important, you know, factor is when it comes to art, where are we really coming from? You know, are we coming from a place of wanting to inspire? Are we coming from a place of wanting to, you know, change the world and shift the world in a positive way, which we can do as one person? And so many people think, oh, you know, I'm just one person. What am I going to do? Well, we're all one collective consciousness here. You know what I mean? And so, you know, even one person makes that much of a difference, because guess what? You're that one person and you do that one thing. There might be 5 people watching you that you're not even aware of. You know, and they might go, hey, you know what, I think I might start doing that too. And then they go and they hang out with their friends, and their friends go, oh, that's kind of a cool thing. Maybe I'll do that too. So you never know how many people you're really touching. You know, you think you're just affecting this one person. So whether you flop or not, you know, it's an important thing to always walk away knowing I did my best. I put what I could into it. Sometimes I'm going to be great. Sometimes I'm going to not be so great. What matters is my intention still there. If my intention is still there, then I rocked it. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. You know, and like when Britney Spears, for instance, you know, was going through, you know, and this whole pop culture thing, when she was going through a lot of stuff in her life, and she did the, I think it was the MTV Awards. I'm not sure which awards it was, and she totally just like, you know, flopped in her performance. You know, she was going through a lot in her life. You know, I cried when I watched that happen, you know, and then I go on Twitter and I see all these people making fun of her, and it's like, you know, gosh, this woman has been an amazing artist for all these years. You've all loved her and supported her. She, you know, she's not doing so well in her life right now. She just got out of a really bad abusive relationship. She's got kids now that she has to take care of. She's, you know, handling 20 million things a day. She messes up one time on stage, and now all you guys that love her are going to hate on her because of that? You know, like, what is that about? What is that really saying about our pop culture? You know, it's like we we have to follow so bad. But then as soon as somebody makes a mistake and doesn't live up to our expectations of them, then we're over it. Then we hate them.
Yeah, it's like, woo, a NASCAR moment. They crashed and burned. Woo!
And
that's what they go to the show for anymore sometimes.
Exactly. And what's so sick about that is so many people that are fans, quote unquote, because I'm not a big fan of the word fan. So many people that are fans of artists that are in the industry that are up on the highest rank already and doing their thing. If they mess up, it's almost like their fans are just waiting for them to do that so they can hate on them. And that's what I want to move away from. I want to move away from people feeling the need to have to go, okay, oh my God, Lady Gaga's going to be on right now. I got to watch it, not because I want to see what she's doing or what she has to offer, because I want to decide if I hate or love her. And it's like, how is that serving you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why do you have to hate or love somebody? Why don't you just watch them? You can, you can dislike, you can like, you can appreciate, you can go, okay, well, that was, a little too much here or that, whatever. But people are just nowadays in our pop culture, majority, are just looking for reasons to either hate or love somebody. And the sickest part about it is if it's somebody that they love, the minute that person does something that they don't deem, up to par as far as what they're expecting from that artist, right away they're willing to hate them and say horrible things about them. And, and we're all guilty of it. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I haven't done it myself, but I'm coming to a place in my life now where, I'm honest. I'm not a big Lady Gaga fan whatsoever. I think a lot of things that she's doing right now are just a little too dark for my own personal taste. But, at the same time, I don't hate her. I think she's extremely talented. And just because I don't agree with some of the stuff that she does, I don't have to, go out there and say, oh my God, I hate this woman. She's horrible. She's this, she's that. I'll say my opinions and I'll put them out there, but I don't need to harbor hatred towards somebody because I don't agree per se with some of what they're doing artistically. It's not a matter of I don't understand why people need to hate. Where does that get any of us? And so that's what I want to move away from. I want to move away from the judgment and the need to feel like we have to just, what is this person wearing and what are they doing and why, and just shut up. Watch the show, learn the lesson, whatever it is for you. If it's going to be something that's going to make you feel good or bad, you're still getting an emotion out of it. This artist is still bringing something out of you. I'm not a big fan of Lady Gaga whatsoever, but I'll still watch what she does, and I'll still get something out of it. Do you know what I mean? And maybe there are plenty of things that I don't agree with that she's doing, but I'm not going to walk away from it and go tell everyone how much I can't stand her and how she's this and that and here and there. I'll say my opinion. I'll definitely allow people to know how I feel about it. But why the hate? You know what I mean? And it's like we have this whole thing going on, with homosexuality and no hate, which I'm all about, and I'm totally down for that. And sexual denomination should not matter whatsoever. But that no hate logo should be applied to everything that's going on right now. You know what I mean? And it's just and that's another controversial thing because a lot of people will say, oh, well, is she putting down homosexuality? Is she saying that that's not important, for something to be, stood up for and something to be, important? Of course it is. Of course it is. I have a lot of friends that are gay that, would vouch for me that I love everyone. I have acceptance in my heart for everyone, all races, all sexual denominations. I mean, to me, that's I don't need to even know. I don't go around asking. A rumor that was going around about me for a long time that I have no problem talking about was that I was a tranny, and this was started a long time ago, because of a certain situation that went on in my life, and all tabloid crap that went on, and it was the first time that I really had to deal with, some serious rumors that were going on about me that were not just that went into deeper core issues, about personal stuff about my life, and it was the first time that I really ever had to deal with that, and it's kind of an oxymoron because at the same time it got me way more popular and got me a bigger following, but at the same time it was there was a price I had to pay for it, and I had to really be scrutinized online in the public, and I had to deal with that. And so of course I was judged for that in so many ways because it's you want to react and you want to say back to these people, no, this isn't true. I have a very hyperactive personality. I'm very, passionate about my beliefs. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, she must be on meth. No, actually, I'm just very passionate about what I believe in. I happen, we're on a, an interview right now. I'm going to talk fast to try to get my points across. And that's that. I didn't go and do a bunch of drugs before I got on the phone with you, and I'm sure people will love to think that, and people probably will think that.
No, we had a huge conversation about about how you have limited battery life just previous to me hitting the record button. So
exactly.
I understand that's not an issue, yeah. But
exactly.
what I do see as an issue is where you're going with this is the whole Pink Floyd thing. They had in one of their songs from The Wall, they're like, "Oh, you will be exposed before your peers," was one of the lines. And I'm like, I get that. Like, I get why people do that. Like, why they try to expose others, because then it's like, oh, look, now I'm in the spotlight because I exposed this other person to this horrible issue and blah 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 blah. And it's just you're right. It's like hating on someone, and like
it's a circle. It's a circle. It's a circle of hate.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, and
that energy is not a good flow.
It's not. It really isn't. And I also had to experience something where I was literally. I went to a nightclub once, and I was waited outside. Actually, some people were waiting for me because and I literally had met these people one other time, and they just decided to hate me, overnight because their friends hated me, and a lot of people tend to follow, which I'm absolutely not a follower, and they literally waited for me at my car outside. So when I came out, and I have this on video, which I'll actually be posting up pretty soon because I'm not afraid and I'm not in fear. And it was literally considered stalking. And, these people brought up some very personal issues and were filming it the whole time and actually admitted to some of the threats they made to me on the video. And, that's it. Hello. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of, it was like, wow, not only are you scrutinizing me, but you're literally admitting to threats that you've made to me that could get you into a lot of trouble. And, it's just like, and this is what you have to deal with. And this, again, brings me back to the price of fame. When you start to get more known, is that, you do take that chance, and this is why when people, keep jumping the levels of getting more and more popular, they start to have entourages and bodyguards, and then, because you get to a point where you don't know if you're going to arrive back at your car and have 5 people waiting there for you and being like, even if it's love, even if it's everyone's like, oh my God, you're so amazing, it can still be just as overwhelming, you know what I mean, just as much as the hate energy can be. So this is something that people have to really consider too when they step into artistry, is like, okay, where do you want to go with this? And are you ready for that? Because, there's a lot of people that aren't, and I was watching a video last night on somebody in the industry right now that's, pretty well known and famous, who actually had said himself that there was a point where where he got so famous and so popular that he just couldn't handle it and he just took off for a minute, and he was just like, I couldn't deal with it. And he said he hit on some very cutting edge topics that were, and he did it in a way that was, he wasn't exactly saying it per se, but he said it enough to where the point got across, especially to anybody watching who understands that consciousness. You know what I mean? And I had a lot of respect for that, because, you don't necessarily need to go up there and be like, oh, exactly these are my beliefs, word for word for word for word. You can just go and say a sentence. You know what I mean? And just say something, and people will catch on, and they'll hear that, and it'll resonate with them. And even if you're only touching, 10 people, hey, guess what? Those 10 people, they have friends. And their friends have friends. So this whole excuse of like, oh, well, I'm just one person. If I throw cigarette butts on the floor, what does it matter? Well, because if 5 people are watching you that you don't know of, they're going to be, what if they're thinking, oh, well, that person did it, so I'm just going to do it too. But if you go, hey, you know what? I'm not going to throw this cigarette butt on the floor because there's an ashtray 3 feet away from me. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the ashtray, and you have 5 people watching you. Guess what? They might go, that's a good thing. I'm just going to go ahead and do that too. So this whole excuse of like, I'm just one person, what's the difference, what's it going to matter, it's just BS to me at this point. Because really, if we don't all know by now that we're all one and we all affect each other on a daily basis, then, I don't know what consciousness that is, but it's to the point now where it's pretty obvious that we all affect one another in a pretty intense way, and so like that's something that I'm an environmentalist. That's very important to me. I recycle pretty much everything. I pay close attention to what I buy. I stick to the less packaging, that I can. I don't litter. I don't, I do, I'm a vegan, and this is another reason I've been scrutinized too. I do smoke cigarettes occasionally. I smoke Native American, American spirits, and,
we all have our little vices for sure.
Exactly, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm this perfect or anything, but, but when I do, you're not going to see me flicking my butts out on the street, and even if there's 20 million other butts there, I'm not going to do it because I know what I stand for, and I've literally have watched people in my life now who don't do that anymore, who at first were like, oh, who cares, whatever, but then after a while they start to realize, hey, guess what, like, you know what, maybe that doesn't feel right to me. And another important fact is, guess what, another reason why I don't do that is because, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, just a little piece of information, the main reason that I had stopped doing that in the first place, before I really came into a really intense consciousness about environmentalism, is because I found out that birds actually use cigarette butts for nests. And so what they do is they take the cigarette butts and they pull them apart and they use the fiberglass and the stuff inside the filters to make nests. And then their baby birdies come out, with an extra wing or, something messed up about them. And, and it's like, people tend to think, oh, who cares? They're just birds, whatever. But these are creatures. This is life. We're all connected. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to respect a life just because it's got a little heart, and it's not as big as, say, a human being, then you can't complain if people aren't respecting your life. You know what I mean? Because it all ties in. It's all karma. It's all a circle of karma. So if you really want to receive that and know that you are being honored and respected and that you know that you want your karma to be intact, then you need to really make those choices. And sometimes those choices will be as small as a cigarette butt. And sometimes they'll be huge choices. You know what I mean? It's up to every individual's path and what their learning is. But that's really what it comes down to is just choices. Choices. Like why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you? What are you doing what you're doing, and why are you doing it? Those are 3 questions that I try to ask myself every day. Because even I sometimes will forget. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to say like, oh, I'm, perfect and I got it all down and I'm just, I know what's up with everything. I have my mistakes. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm not claiming that at all whatsoever. However, every day I try to look within myself and, for the mistakes I make especially, go, why did I do that? Why did I, self-sabotage myself in that way when I knew I was doing that? And I'll admit that to anybody. You know what I mean? I have no shame in my game. I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've gone down some very dark paths in my life, but I've gotten myself out of them because I have that consciousness and that awareness to want to rise above and to come into a higher state of awareness to inspire others. That's my job as an artist. That's what I feel my job is. And ultimately, like I said, that's what I want to inspire other people to get back in touch with, because I feel that a lot of people now are just kind of walking blindly as artists. And I've been in tons of acting classes where the teacher sits you down and says, okay, why do you want to do this? What's your goal in acting? And literally, majority of these people will not have an answer. Oh, because I want to be famous. Because I really, I like being, when people pay attention to me. Oh, I like pretending to be somebody else. Okay, well, that's great. That's wonderful. Like, why, do you want to inspire somebody? Like, what's the deal here? And some people won't even have any answers. You know what I mean? And then it brings me back to where, like, I'll get up there and the teacher's like, all right, we get it. So it's like, there's a fine line between overdoing it and really, getting your point across in an efficient, time-efficient manner. But it's just so important to have a reason for what you do, and that's really what my intention is, to help kind of remind people and to get out there and go, hey, don't be afraid. Yeah, sure, you might not want to go all the way and say fully what you believe in. I'm not saying, go out into some stranger on the street, be like, hey, I believe in UFOs and I saw one the other day. What do you think? I'm not saying do that per se, but, don't be afraid to speak of what is true to you and what you believe in, because people are going to judge you either way, man, and whether
I'd like
or not
to actually
they do,
add something to that point real quick. There is a great little picture on the internet, and talk about art. This was beautiful. It's 5 people all standing or sitting in a train, and there's the caption of, they all have the same thought,
going to the same thought bubble, and they're all thinking the exact same thing, and it's, look at these people, glassy-eyed automatons going about their daily lives, never stopping to look around and think, I'm the only conscious human in a world of sheep, and all 5 of them are sitting there thinking this, and it's like, if they just open their mouths to each other, imagine what they could do.
Yeah, I know, right? But the thing is we're all, we all tend to be so afraid, like, well, gosh, if I talk to this person, like, what are they going to think? What are they going to, are they going to, and it's like, who cares? You know what I mean? Now, of course, if you're in a situation where you feel like it's a dangerous situation and maybe it's not the right place or time, of course use your better judgment. I'm not saying just go around and blab to the world what your beliefs are. Like, always use your better judgment. You know what I mean? But if you're in a situation where you feel it's comfortable and it's welcomed, and maybe nobody's saying anything, be that person to say something. Be that person to bring it up. You know what I mean? And I've done that, and I've watched conversations arise where, maybe everybody's not in the same agreement, but everybody's going, yeah, well, oh, that's interesting. Well, I heard this. And then the other person's like, oh, really? Well, I've heard this. And then by the end, it's like, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about everybody walking away with a new awareness to kind of incorporate into what they already believe. And then, from that point on, deciding whether or not they want to, keep incorporating that. And that's entirely up to them. Like, it's not about, making somebody believe what you believe in. It's about, conversating and enlightening one another on perhaps maybe a subject that you're not aware of or that I'm not aware of, or, whoever we're talking to, and then being like, okay, well, maybe that sounds a little far out there. Maybe I, want to research for myself or whatnot, but still just stay open, because you never know. The person that you think is the craziest person that you will never learn anything from might be your greatest teacher. Just like I have I have this saying that a lot of people have. Sometimes, our enemies are our greatest teachers, because, we could sit here and we could hate them and we could think like, oh God, they just put me through all this hell and damn them and I'm the victim and so on and so forth. Or we can sit back and go, okay, why did this happen? How was I the co-creator of this situation? And if I'm just going to go and hate this person now because they hate me, then how can I say I'm any different? How can I sit here and say I'm an activist of truth and I'm an activist of supporting one another, despite anyone's opinion, and then turn around and hate on somebody because their opinion differs? Then who am I? I'm just a hypocrite.
really needed to just hear that, actually. I really needed to just hear that. As a matter of fact, that's kind of the answer that those are kind of the words that I think others in the conversation I was having earlier about various people getting off their bottoms and so on, and why I was getting angry about people not doing so because they were just sitting around meditating all day. And what you just said there really affects that, though, because, like, I mean, I guess in my own way, in getting angry over that person's way is something that I may have done wrong. I don't know. I hope that what I said has at least made them think. But
right. And it will.
I think that maybe I did not necessarily handle that situation properly. And when I leave the link for them, I hope they know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it really is hard because it really depends on the person and how open and receptive they are. A, B, it's very easy for activists like you and me and tons of other people that have very strong beliefs to be a little bit overbearing and a little bit aggressive and a little bit reactive when it comes to discussing certain things. And now, it's easier, say, when you have a discussion with somebody that kind of resonates on the same vibration as you, because then you can discuss things, and even if your opinions differ, you can still come to a happy conclusion with each other and walk away going, wow, that was cool. I really got something out of that conversation. As opposed to somebody that's just going to sit there and want to debate with you and try to tell you how wrong you are. And that's, a lot of times that's when the anger can come in, or the frustration, because you're just like, dude, I'm not trying to tell you, this is exactly how it is, but just, maybe open up a little bit and be a little bit more receptive to some new aspects of truth you might want to consider to be truth, you know what I mean? And I think what you're touching on when it comes to the whole like meditating all day thing, what I feel coming from you and what I've noticed, in my own beliefs and with other people as well is, there's a spiritual path that is aimed towards, not only self-awareness, but awareness of what's going on around you. Then there's also what I call a selfish spiritual path, where you kind of get on the spiritual path and it becomes about you meditating and your yoga and your, path to self-awareness and how, your experiences are enlightening you. And pretty soon it's me, 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 me. and it's like you get stuck in your crown chakra, and then everything is about like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I meditate every day and I do yoga every day. I know all the answers. And I've met people like this, and I'm just like, okay, no. You know what I mean? I'm just like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I meditate too, but I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody I know all the answers, because
I think the exact other side of the coin that she was getting at is that she had just read something that explained that through changing herself, it will automatically change the world. And I do understand that principle at the base concept, but my argument was that it was just not enough.
I agree.
And I think I was definitely more aggressive than I should have been during that conversation, and for that I humbly apologize. But that is at least where I'm at with it, and I'd love to actually hear your thoughts on it, to be honest, because I think we're on the same level in a lot of ways here.
Yeah, I agree. The way I look at it is like, we're all going to have different interactions with people at different times. And, sometimes you'll have an interaction that's really peaceful, and, you'll walk away from it, like I said, going, okay, well, maybe that person still was like, well, I'm not so sure about what you're saying, but they didn't shoot you any negative vibes, and they thanked you for your info, and you walk away, and you're like, okay, well, they're either going to, take that information and research it for themselves, or they're not. And you can walk away feeling satisfied. And, it's unfortunate that a lot of times you'll walk away feeling frustrated, like, oh, God, like, did I even get across anything to that person? Like, and what it comes down to is, I think what we all have to realize is everything happens for a reason. Maybe that person needed that aggression to kind of wake themselves up to something. You know what I mean? And to go back and regret any type of interaction you have with somebody, unless it was something that, of course, was harmful to somebody, or something that was against the law. Well, then, of course, But when it comes to just a conversation and a peaceful debate about something, I don't think anybody should ever really walk away with regrets about how they handled it. Of course, never yell at anybody and get mad and scream and get crazy. I don't encourage that whatsoever. But, there's going to be frustration. There's going to be a little bit of aggression there when people are so strong in their beliefs. And, we're at a point in time now where it's like we're feeling this, and we're all feeling it in one way or another, this kind of like rush to get a lot of information out. There's going to be that aggressive vibe behind it. And what's really important about that is, and that's where the meditation and the yoga and the spiritual path, does kind of tie in, because you want to keep yourself grounded so that when you are able to speak to people about your beliefs, they're going to be more receptive, because they're going to feel that grounded energy within you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this, there's a very fine line between going a little bit overboard with, the meditation and the yoga, and even with veganism. And I'm vegan and I'm saying this, some people just take it so far that, they get around somebody that eats meat and they're just like, how could you eat that? How could you do that? Like, that's just so disgusting. And I'm not that kind of vegan. I have plenty of friends that aren't vegan that eat meat. I've gone out to dinner with them. I've sat there while they've chowed down on a steak. I live my life because this is who I choose to be. These are my beliefs. I don't need to push them on other people. I don't need to go around telling everybody they need to be vegan and they need to, change the way they eat. Now, if they come to me and they say, hey, I'm interested in this lifestyle, and they have questions, sure, I'll answer. You know what I mean? And sure, on my own time, I'll definitely, like on Twitter, that's where I do most of my activism. I'll post things up all the time on veganism, but that's in a way where people are going to either read them or they're not. You know what I mean? And it's up to them. It's not me. I'm not going. You have to read this. It's more of like a, whoever's going to be receptive is, and whoever isn't, oh well, I'll live.
Yeah, it's the difference between sharing your truth and allowing someone to beat you over the head with their truth.
Exactly. And it's up to each and every one of us to realize, if we want people to be receptive, you kind of have to use your, really what it comes down to is your psychic abilities and your intuition to feel, okay, how do I go about communicating with this person? You kind of tap in, and then I also do healing, and I do chakra realignment, as part of what I do on the outside of my arts. And I'm a big believer in really, trying to gauge a person before, speaking to them about certain issues, because if you really pay attention to that, right away you'll get a vibe and you'll feel if this person is going to be receptive or not. And the funny thing is a lot of times people like you and I, and I'm sure a lot of activists out there, will tend to actually go after the ones that we feel aren't as receptive, because those are the ones that we really want to try to wake up. But the problem is those aren't the ones really that are really ready to wake up yet. And a lot of times that can shatter people's realities. I mean, there's been people that I've had conversations with about chemtrails that at the end of the conversation they were in tears and like the reality was broken down. You know, and that's not what I want to do to people. That's not my intention. You know, so now it's come to a point where...
Well, I've been brought to tears due to truths that have been presented to me, and I've been far better off in the long run after having learned those truths. So maybe it wasn't necessarily a bad thing that you helped teach this person what they needed to learn, and then maybe that crying was just an issue of them letting go of their old belief system.
Exactly,
so you shouldn't necessarily feel bad, like you were saying earlier, about any conversations you have. It's more a matter of like those exact. I guess I'm trying to give myself some advice here too, because like I feel bad because of the conversation I had earlier in my own right, because I got angry in that situation, and so I'm feeling you.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's easy to get, you know, a little bit enraged and angered sometimes by conversations because, you know, it brings up some very, you know, intense issues that are going on, you know, globally and in the world right now where, you know, we all have different opinions and, you know, you mentioned one word like HARP and, you know, you'll have 1,000 different people with 1,000 different opinions on it, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and it can be a very controversial subject because, you know, some people will say there's absolute proof. Some people will say there's no proof. You know, and really what it comes down to that I encourage people to do is and a website that I want to do in the future that's going to have to do with encouraging people to research for themselves is really just that, research for yourself. You know what I mean? You don't need to sit here and have a 5-hour conversation with me, you know, stranger on the street. You know, hear the words I have to say, you know, and then research for yourself and form your own opinion. You know what I mean? But at least, you know, educate yourself on it. Like that, you know, HARP does exist. Now, whether, you know, whichever, you know, reason or opinions or whatever people think, you know, I definitely have my own. I'm sure you have your own. We all have our own.
Yeah,
you know,
about
whatever
what they're
that
considering
is.
to do with it. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. But you know, the fact of the matter is like it does exist. You know what I mean? So no matter what the reason is, it does exist. And that's the foundation that I want people to start really becoming aware of is like, hey, okay, you know what? Maybe you don't want to form an opinion right now. Maybe you don't want to think, you know, on a conspiracy level, which I don't even like the word conspiracy, but for lack of a better word. You know, maybe you don't want to get that far into it, but at least know that this is something that's very real. You know, there's one in China, there's one in Russia, there's one in Alaska. I mean, these, you know, this is something you could go online and go to actual, you know, government websites that will tell you where they are. They're not going to tell you exactly what they're used for because, of course, why would they? But, you know, fact of the matter is these are very real things that are happening in the world, you know, and despite all the 10,000 different opinions and reasons and whatnot that we can put into it, you know, they're still there. And so that's what I encourage people mostly to do is just realize and acknowledge, like, hey, you know what, you don't need to form an opinion right now. You don't need to necessarily, you know, think any one particular way, but at least realize that this actually does exist, you know, and this is something that is very real. And, you know, that's what I encourage, especially when it comes to artists, because, you know, here we are as artists and you know, we're all about like raising the vibrations and bringing our talents to the table and inspiring people and wanting to get inspired. Well, why not take it to that next level? You know what I mean? Why not go there? You know, it's at a point now where, you know, people in the industry, some pretty well-known people, are actually speaking out on things. You know, I mean, you know, I'm not quite sure what I'm allowed to say or not, but I'm pretty sure this is okay.
Well, I know there was a Dallas Cowboy that just came out about that he thinks there should be another investigation for 9/11. I can't remember his name for the life of me at the moment, but I remember reading it a couple weeks ago.
Is it okay to mention names? Because I know somebody that had actually went on TV, and I forget if it was like Jay Leno or I don't know what show it was, but he actually talked about chemtrails. I'm not sure if it's okay. I mean, I already know I mentioned Jim Carrey. Is there anything?
If it's someone that's already in the spotlight, I think at this point it's kind of doesn't matter.
Okay,
but,
okay.
If this is like a friend of yours that you're gonna like all of a sudden
No, it's somebody that's already in the industry. No, it's somebody in the industry already, and it's Prince, and he basically, you know, about 2.5 years ago, I'm not quite sure the time span, you know, went and he didn't talk about it too much, but he touched on the subject of chemtrails, and you know. This is something that I really had a lot of respect for because, you know, when you do that, you're putting yourself out there. You really are, especially when you're already that well known and that famous. And I have a lot of respect for those people because, you know, despite whatever their beliefs are religiously or, you know, whatever they think on the other sides that maybe I do or don't agree with, that, you know, that really shouldn't matter. What matters is that we all come together and that, you know, despite our different beliefs, because it's funny, I don't, you know, and I have no problem saying this, like, I don't adhere to any one religion. I consider myself on a spiritual path to awareness and enlightenment. I don't particularly need to look up to any one particular entity or being or God to, you know, get me through my day. That's me. That's my opinion. Now, for other people that do, more power to you. I do not judge anyone for what they believe, you know, but however, just because somebody might believe something different than I believe doesn't mean I'm just going to shut down my ears to some information that they might be trying to offer me. You know, some of the people that I would have thought that I never would have learned anything from because they were like all into this or that or whatnot, you know, I've learned more from them than I learned from somebody that was exactly on my same page. Do you know what I mean? So you never really know, and that's why it's so important to stay open and to just really keep yourself, you know, with your chakras aligned, and not many, you know, people, I mean, there are a lot of people, I shouldn't say not many, a lot of people do understand, you know, chakra alignment, but there are still a lot of people in this world that don't understand how important that is to remaining balanced. And, you know, that comes with meditation, and that comes with, you know, centering yourself and taking care of your body, you know, both inside and out, and you know, that's a very important factor. But like you said, you can't just meditate every day and think that you're just, you know, you're changing the world. That's not going to work. You know, like you're heightening your own awarenesses and you're getting through your own day and you're learning stuff about yourself. But again, that's coming from the ego. When you take it out of the ego, you know, for me when I meditate, yeah, sure, sometimes it's about me. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say I never have a meditation that's about like, oh my gosh, universe, please help me. I'm going through some serious stuff right now. But I also have meditations that are strictly about, you know, what's going on in the world. You know, and for instance, Japan, like, you know, I had a huge meditation on that and just sat there and, you know, for a good 20 minutes, just sent them all my love and energy and just sent them, you know, all the prayers in the world, you know, because we can sit here all day and night and say, oh, we're so spiritual, we're peace and love, and, you know, we're just, oh, God, you know, we're so in touch with ourselves and our third eyes, and yeah, that's great. Good for you. You know, so am I. But, you know, all the peace and love in the world right now isn't mattering to the thousands of people that have died in Japan. I'm sure their families aren't sitting there going, I feel so much peace and love right now. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to being an artist, that's another thing that I want to bring to the table is like, it's not just like, oh, check out my art, it's so amazing, and you know, and then it stops there. It's like, no, you're doing your art, but guess what? People are still dying all over the place right now. Do you know what I mean? People are still going through atrocities all throughout the globe. You know, so do what you love, but reach out more. My thing is just do more, be more, do something with what you're doing. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds kind of redundant, but it really does make sense because a lot of people are doing something, but they're doing it kind of blindly. And you know, these are artists that are walking around that, you know, they love what they do, but they only love what they do because it's serving them. And it's like, I'm done with that. How are you serving others? How what you do and what you love, how is that enlightening others? How is that bringing more consciousness to the masses? You know, we all want to sit here and you know, I'm not saying we want to per se, but we tend to, you know, look at other people who may not have certain awarenesses and say, oh, you know, these are the sheep and these are the, you know, the zombies and the people that don't know. But again, you know, that's still judging. You know, I mean, to be quite honest, it really is. It's still judging because then you're separating yourself from them. And guess what? These people that we're calling sheeple and these people that we're calling zombies and unconscious, you know, and I've done it. I'm not saying I haven't done it. You know, we're separating ourselves from them. And, how can we really sit here and say we're all one and then put ourselves above somebody just because they don't have the awareness that we have? You know?
I keep I keep wind up having my head travel back to Ghostbusters, as silly as this sounds. But
I know, that's one of my favorite movies.
There's a line that Winston said, and he goes, Ray, do you ever think that maybe the reason why we've been so busy lately is because the dead have been rising from the grave?
Right.
And that's kind of my little analogy to, like, I think the reason why maybe you and I, as well as other activists, are actually able to even have a more legitimized conversation is because people are now actually waking up to the fact that there is a little something wrong with the world at the moment, and we need to fix
a little something.
We need to fix we need to fix the things that we can fix. And we need to stop doing some of the things that we need to stop doing. But I unfortunately have to start winding this down. I know I've only got like 5 minutes left until 4 o'clock. But could you, I also don't know how much battery life you've got left at this point. So if you could just, once again, give people some of your information to how they can contact you or how they could just see some of the performances you do have, because I know you have so much going on.
Yeah. Definitely. One of the best places right now, and I'm going to be uploading a lot more footage that I have coming towards me. And as an artist, it's always a struggle to get your footage back, so it takes sometimes up to like a month to 2 months to get your footage back. But I'm going to be uploading a lot of new stuff. YouTube.com/VeganBombshell is where you can find a lot of my videos on. Basically I use it for artists. I call it activism meets performance. Basically, I have a lot of favorited videos that I really recommend to people watching, or recommend for people to watch rather. And like I said, even if you don't agree, that's not what it's about. It's just staying open and really, taking in the information and then doing with it what you will. I use my YouTube page not only for like, hey, look at me and what I do, but I also use it for like, these are my favorited videos, check them out, see what you think, share your opinions. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I've gotten negative feedback. I welcome it all. I really do. You know what I mean? And even when people come at me with negative feedback, like, it's very important to me to go, okay, it's like we want to react and we want to be like, well, screw you, man. But, at the same time, what point are you getting across then? You're just you're just stooping down to a level that's not necessary. So anyway, that's a place where I kind of do both, and that's where I really want people to kind of sub to my channel, and I always sub back if I believe their channel is something that's beneficial to, where I'm coming from in my life. You can also find me at VeganBombshell.tumblr.com, and that's kind of a different side of me. It's kind of like my more, I do some activism there, but I post a lot of music that I like there, pictures, different slideshows of things. It's a little bit more artsy, in more of like a vlogging or blogging kind of sense rather. I also do vlogs on YouTube, which I need to get back up on because I had been really sick for a while and I wasn't able to do so, but I'm going to be back up on that. Facebook.com/VeganBombshell is where you can see a lot of what I do. I use that pretty much for career and some personal stuff. Like I said, I'm very cutting edge. I'm not afraid to use my own experiences to post to help other people grow and learn from, even my own mistakes. People judge me on that. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me whatsoever anymore, because I know that I speak the truth, and that's who I am, and then nobody's going to stop me from doing that. And as long as I'm not hurting anybody, I don't see anything wrong with that. Let's see, and then of course Twitter.com/VeganBombshell, at VeganBombshell on Twitter is where you can find me, and that's basically where I do most of my activism. And I'll post some personal stuff up there too. And like I said, it's controversial. I post a lot of stuff and personal stuff up there that people are like, how could you say that? That's your personal information. Well, you know what? So what? When you're in this industry, sometimes that's, what you got to put out there. And for me, I've had people write me and say, if you wouldn't have posted that, I wouldn't have learned what I learned. And thank you so much for having the guts to do that and put yourself out there, because you just saved my life. And if I could save, one life in my entire life, I'm satisfied. So those are the sites that you can find me at. I can't think of anything else right now off the top of my head. Can you? Any other sites? Huh? Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, and that's where you can find me. And and I recommend people, check me out, and I check out just as many people too. It's not all about me, it's about all of us. We're all one, and that's really what my message is that to just stay in that consciousness and remember that, by judging others, you're just judging yourself. You might as well look in the mirror. Because as soon as you start to judge somebody else, you're just, look in that mirror and realize you got one finger pointed forward and 3 pointed back, and that's what it all comes down to. So, why the judgment? Let it go. Let go of the hate, let go of the judgment, and just accept one another. And the more that we start to apply that to our own lives, that's how peace is created. We can meditate all day and night, and that's great and dandy, but it's really how you apply it to your life. And so that's my message is what do you want to be, why do you want to be it, and how are you going to go about doing it, and ask yourself that every single day of your life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas, your solutions, and specifically your sincerity. I think that's probably the reason why I originally connected with you in the first place. It's just the fact that even though you and I had some early disagreements, and we like didn't follow each other for a little while, and then we followed each other again. It was kind of funny and cute, actually, in retrospect. But like, I mean, thank you for your sincerity. Really, like it's that sort of thing that I've always really appreciated, and I can't say that it's not. It's in my opinion the world's best quality, and I think if we can stick to the kind of sincerity that I think you and I try to hold to, and that everybody else would do the same, I think we'd live in a much better world. So
I agree,
truly,
absolutely.
Thank you.
And
for sharing.
we are the example, because we did have our disagreements in the beginning, but we never had to bring hate into the equation, and we never we just if you disagree, you take your space, you take your time, and then if it's meant to be, you come back together and you share your opinions. And hey, guess what? Sometimes those people that you had disagreements with, you'll end up, like we did later on, coming back together and connecting on an even higher level than you thought was, than we both might have thought was possible from the beginning. So we're the prime example of like, hey, you might have a disagreement with somebody, and then a year later be having a great conversation that's going to end up inspiring, hundreds of thousands of people. So never cut yourself off.
I really hope that our simple conversation here does that, but
it's already been done. Consider it done.
Great. That would be great. I think I'd like that thought. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you bringing me on, and thank you so much for all of your openness and your just staying open to what I have to say, and I've had a great time exploring these subjects with you, and I'm very appreciative of you reaching out to me, and I hope I was of some benefit, and again, thank you so much for all your time, and I wish you all the best in all your endeavors, and I'm just so grateful to you for doing what you do, and having a place for people to speak their mind and give their opinions and to feel safe about it, and whether it's a place of non-judgment really, and a place of just expressing yourself. And that's what it's all about, is expressing yourself and feeling good about that, and being proud of what you stand for, So that's my message. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. That's it, folks. I'm going to end the show now then. Again, thank you, Mila Starfire, for hanging out with us and giving us so many great ideas to ponder for the next couple days. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, too. Have a great day.
We've just watched a instructional video on how to yodel, and we're going to be demonstrating our skills after our first lesson.
Oh, this is a very serious matter, apparently.
Yole, yolo, yole, yolo, yole, yolo, yole.
Start. I start, and then you join me, okay?
When do I join?
You can't even keep saying yodeling.
I did. You can't. Yole.
You suck at yodeling.
Fuck you. We're gonna have a yodel off right now. The first yodeler,
Old lady. When did we start thinking about grandma? Grandma.
When you actually watch this video, you're gonna realize
Yole.
What was that?